What's happening YouTube? This is Champion 2D Rob back again with another video, and I thought this time I would share my Master System collection, or Master System collection as some of you guys up north pronounce it. And I know you guys make fun of the London South, us people down south, or the London accent in general, but yeah, it's Master System. The Master System collection. So yeah, I thought I would share my collection. It's not the biggest collection in the world, but it's one collection that I've never sort of put my full focus on. It's just sort of one that I just sort of pick up games here and there for it. I do have very nostalgic memories for the Master System, despite not actually owning one as a kid. I grew up with the NES, but I did know a lot of people that had Master Systems, so I did have a lot of opportunities to play one back in the day. So yeah, this is what I would consider a humble collection. I like to think I've got a lot of great titles here. It's not a complete collection in terms of what I would want. I mean, there are a few games I would still like to add. And I do occasionally, you know, add to it, but it's not like I've got any sort of proper focus in trying to collect for it. It's just more of, if I see the game and I see it for a good price, you know, I'll generally pick it up. But I've done all right so far. I've pretty much gone for most of the games that I played as a kid, or games just that intrigued me. So anyway, yeah, let's just get on with it. And I think we're going to start with the first two games I'm going to show you guys are actually probably my most nostalgic games, because I played them as a kid, a lot as a kid, should I say. And actually, before we get into it, just a very brief summary of my experience with the Master System. So like I said before, I was an NES kid growing up, and I had a lot of friends that did have Master Systems, and I was fortunate enough to play quite a few games on it. And it's actually over the years that games I'd completely forgotten about that I sort of rediscovered as an adult. And you know, and then as I see footage and whatnot, it all sort of starts to come flooding back to me, and realise that I actually did play these games as a kid. So surprisingly, I was exposed to a lot of games for the Master System, and yeah, it was a cool system. I never thought it was better than the NES as a kid. These were my thoughts back then. I thought it was a good system, but I don't know, that I always felt that the games, I don't know, they just seem to lack something for me. I can't explain it. I mean, as I'm about to show you guys, clearly, you know, I do have a lot of love for a lot of these games, but these were just my thoughts as a kid at the time. And one thing I will say though is I really dislike the music on the Master System, and I know that the Master System is capable of better sound because of the added chip. I can't remember what it was, that added sound chip or whatever. And but the thing is that might be the case, but that wasn't what we got in Europe and in the UK. So I have to judge it on that. And I never really got on with the Master System sound. To be quite frank, I thought it was awful. You know, it just like the chiptune music of the NES to me is just iconic. And as to why I didn't have a Master System and why I grew up with the NES, because it seems what I later discovered in life was that the Master System was way more popular in the UK than the NES. Apparently so, because I guess no one told me and my friends, because I guess in the pre-internet age, in my world, it seemed like the NES was like the most popular console, because all my friends had NESs. And in fact, I got my NES based off the fact that all my friends had NESs. And while some of them did have Master Systems as well, or they had other home computers as well, it just seemed that, at least within my world as a child, the NES was very dominant. I mean, granted, I got into the NES very late in its life. I think I got my NES probably in 1990. I think was the year that I got mine. I'm not quite sure, but it was definitely very late in its cycle. I can't quite. What was the year that? If you guys can tell me in the script in the message below, what was the year that the Turtles pack came out? I didn't have the Turtles pack. I had the Super Mario Brothers pack. But I remember the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Hero Turtles, 'cause that's what it was called in the UK. When the Heroes Turtles pack came out in the UK, I remember my friend getting that shortly after I got mine. So it was definitely in that year that the Turtles NES pack came out. But anyway, guys, that was my thoughts at the time. But I did appreciate the Master System. In fact, even as a kid, when I would eventually when I would graduate to the 16-bit, I would actually get the Master System converter, because I did like the games, although I never fully took advantage of the Master System library, just because of lack of funds, really. You know, there's only so many games I could afford as a little child, and I chose to focus on the money that I would receive to buy Mega Drive games, so it kind of just sort of, you know, was pushed to the side, really. But I do love the system. I really do have a great appreciation for the Master System, and going back to it as an adult, for me, it still holds up. I still enjoy the Master System probably as much as I did playing the NES. But anyway, guys, so sorry for that ramble. We're going to go straight into the collection, guys. So the very first game I'm going to show you guys, and this was one that I was very, very nostalgic for. I played this a lot as a kid, and that is the Ninja. So this was definitely one I spent massive amounts of time playing. I remember the times when I played this game. A friend of mine had this game. He had this and the other game I'm about to show you guys. But I love this game. It's a great sort of vertical scroller where you're like a ninja, and it's, you know, it's a shooter basically. You know, very much like your Commando, the Rambo games and whatnot. Those top-down run and gunners, love them, and this is just a really good one. I mean, you probably wouldn't think much of this game, you know, because of the artwork, but it really is a fun game, and it's one I hold to this day in high regard. Love this game. Okay, next one I've got here, and this is the second one that I played so much as a kid, and that is Action Fighter. And so this again is a top-down game, but this one is basically sort of like a chase HQ sort of game, where you're like you're driving a vehicle and you have to chase down bad guys in other vehicles. You've got like I think you're in a car, and you're also in a motorbike as well. And this was a really fun one. I remember spending a lot of time playing this game. So much fun, and by the way, I know I'm gonna come off sounding really stupid here, but it was only in recent years, I believe it was thanks to Retro Red Steve who pointed this out. But only starting to realise that this was actually the window on the motorcycle, the side mirror on the motorcycle. For years, I thought it was a magnifying glass. Which, you know, you'd think, like, in hindsight, it would make more sense that it would be a side mirror. But I don't know. As a kid, that's how you think, and I, in my mind, it just stuck. I never really gave it much thought, to be honest, but that's really what I thought of it. But yeah, I'm just dumb. Sorry, I'm just dumb. But yeah, awesome game. Yeah, I love it. And I'm really chuffed to get this copy as well, because when I got this copy, it was like filthy. It was absolutely, it looked horrible. But once I cleaned it up, yeah, it's I'd say it's, you know, it's in very good condition. It's got some edge wear, but it's otherwise in very good nick. So really happy with this one. Okay, the next set of games here, we've got the Sonic games. So of course we've got the original Sonic the Hedgehog, and I have to say I really do enjoy the Sonic games on the Master System. They're just so different compared to the Mega Drive games that they're worth owning just because they're just so different. So if you haven't played any of the Sonic games on the Master System, don't think of them as cut down Mega Drive games. They are not. They're actually their own games. They play differently. They're completely original, and they're so much fun to play. So yeah, of course I have the first one here. Then of course I have Sonic 2, and I want to point out that this is actually the only Master System game in my collection that is actually from my childhood. So this was the game I bought when I bought the Master System converter for my Mega Drive. It was the one and only game I got for it. Never bought any more games, but thankfully it's still in really nice condition. Of course it's complete. Yeah, really chuffed. The only thing I didn't like about Sonic 2 was the hang gliding levels. They were just so tricky to do, and I still struggle at them now. It's not gotten any better. This is just, it's ridiculously hard for what it is, but still a very fun Sonic title. Then of course you've got Sonic Chaos, and yeah, really fun game. I haven't played it recently, admittedly, so I don't really remember much about it, just because these Sonic games tend to sort of blend in for me. But yeah, you know, I mean, it's the same style as the previous one, so yeah, you know, glad to have it. Okay, so next one I have here is Master of Darkness. Now, this is a title that when I bought it, you know, I bought it because, you know, I'd heard it was basically very much like a Castlevania game. And before I bought it, I sort of went to look it up. I actually realised I had played this game as a kid as well. I remember the levels, so I definitely remember playing this game. It's crazy that you just sort of completely goes out your mind, and then you think it's a brand new game, and then you just realise no, you did play this as a kid. So really happy to get this one, because I'm a big Castlevania fan, and it's a shame that at this point, you know, the Master System never got a Castlevania game, because, you know, the NES got 3, but you know, at the time there was a clause that Nintendo put on a lot of gaming companies where they couldn't develop for rival companies. So, you know, Konami, Capcom, they couldn't develop for Sega during the 8-bit era. I think they release a couple. Was it Forgotten Worlds? I think they might have came afterwards in the 90s, but there was a time where they couldn't. And this was one of the, and not this one, sorry, Castlevania games. Konami couldn't make any for the 8-bit system, but obviously they would go on to make Castlevania the new generation, aka Castlevania Bloodlines, for the Mega Drive / Genesis. But in any case, Sega pulled off an excellent one here. This is a really great Castlevania clone. And I happen to have 2 of them. Why do I have 2? Well, that's because one of them is without the manual, and this was actually my first copy that I picked up, and then I eventually upgraded to this one, which is complete, and I just haven't had a chance to move this one on yet. But yeah, so I got 2 copies of Master of Darkness. Really great games though. Okay, so next one I have here, and this is another game I played as well as a kid. Really enjoyed it, really glad to have this one, and that is KenSided. So this is a action side scroller, really fun game, and really quite different to the sort of games you would expect to get on the Master System. I don't know why. This game is quite a serious title, quite a, you know, it's not cartoony. It's you know, it kind of has sort of adult sprites, through lack of a better term, but yeah, really good game, and a very underappreciated game in my opinion. No one really talks about this game, but it is really good, and yeah, I remember playing this one also as a kid and really enjoying it. So yeah, that's that. Next one, hey guys, sorry I had to make a jump cut there, but anyway, as I was saying, yeah, so Aladdin on the Master System. I'd never played this game before. I was curious to give this version a go. It looks amazing. Graphically, it looks really good. So I decided to pick it up. I picked this up at one of the gaming markets And I have to say though, it visually looks amazing, but I don't know, I just thought the gameplay was not good. I didn't really like it. I just couldn't get to grips with this game for some reason. It's definitely not as fluid as the Mega Drive game, and it's or the Super Nintendo game. And it's very much its own game as well. It's not really a port of the Mega Drive game either. But yeah, I don't know. I'll probably need to go back to this one because like I played it, it just wasn't clicking with me. Just the controls I thought seemed a bit awkward. Just didn't really like it. But yeah, I'll probably give it another go. Okay. Next game I have here, and again this is another one that I did play as a kid, and that is Land of Illusion, starring Mickey Mouse, and what an awesome game it is. A great follow-up to Castle of Illusion, and yeah, just a really fun Disney platformer. I mean, Disney during the 8 and 16-bit era just put out some amazing games. Really they did, you know, and I believe this one was developed by Sega. But again, fantastic, absolutely loved it, highly recommended. Then of course we've got here Deep Duck Trouble, starring Donald Duck. Not one I played as a kid, but this is definitely another fun one for the Master System. Definitely, like I say, I think all the Disney games really, besides maybe Aladdin. But this is definitely another good one in my opinion. Another fun platformer. Unfortunately, this is one of the few games I have that is still missing a manual, but still very fun game. Definitely recommended. And of course we have here Castle of Illusion. I also picked this up at one of the gaming markets because I still have the price sticker on here. I paid £7 for it, and yeah, fantastic game. In fact, I was more familiar with Castle of Illusion on the Master System as opposed to the Mega Drive. So yeah, this is where most of my memories for the game lies, and it's a fantastic game. And what's really great about this game, and you could say a lot about a lot of the titles that came out during this era, is that it was a different game compared to the 16-bit counterpart. So it basically made owning both worth doing. So yeah, really glad to have this one. It's a classic in my eyes. Alright. Next game I have here, and I actually had never played this game. I mean, obviously I've played the arcade version of this game, but I've never played the Master System game up until I picked it up, and that is Shinobi. So basically this is a port of the arcade game, and it's a solid port. This is a really fun title. I do love the Shinobi games, though this is not my favourite. It's not as good as the arcade game, but it's still fun, it's still playable, it works. And yeah, it's a decent port for what it is. But for me, the Shinobi games on the Mega Drive are far superior. But in any case, this is still very much a fun one to have. And next one I have here is Batman Returns. This is a really good game, and honestly, like, I had no idea how good this game was until recently, to be honest. I hate the Mega Drive version of this game. I think that game was atrocious, but this version is a completely different game, and it plays fantastic. Well worth owning in my opinion. It's a bit of a hidden gem in my opinion. And it's also worth pointing out the NES version of Batman Returns is definitely worth owning as well. That one is a side-scrolling beat-em-up. This one's an action platformer, but Konami developed a side-scrolling beat-em-up very similar to the Turtles arcade game for the NES. So also worth checking out the NES version of Batman Returns. Batman Returns pretty much got solid ports all around. I'd say the only one I don't like is the Mega Drive version, but all the others are actually really good. So yeah, really cool one to get. Next one I have here is Rastan, and yeah, great game, great port of the arcade, really fun action side scroller. Obviously not as good as the arcade version. I think the arcade version has tighter controls, but ultimately this is still a very fun action side-scrolling game. Okay, next one I have here is Asterix, and this is another game that I grew up playing as a kid. In fact, I would probably say that aside from the Ninja and Action Fighter, this is probably my most played game on the Master System. Like, I don't know what it is about this game, but I played it to death as a kid. Like, I was really into this game. It's a platformer, it's a 2D platformer, but I just really enjoyed it. I should point out as well that as a kid, I did really like Asterix. Yeah, I was a fan of it. I used to read the comic books as a kid, but that wasn't really the reason why I liked this game. I just liked this game because it played really well. It was just a lot of fun, and yeah, I really recommend people check this one out. And of course, I've got here Ninja Gaiden, the one and only Ninja Gaiden for the Master System, and this is a fantastic game. Also one that I didn't remember playing as a kid, but when I started playing this again, it all sort of came flooding back to me. So I had played this as a kid, and it's a fantastic game. It's really worth playing, and it's an original title as well. This is not a port of any pre-existing Ninja Gaiden titles. This is a completely original game, and it's definitely well worth checking out. This is an awesome title, one of my favorites. Okay. Next one we have here is Fantasy Zone, and this is a shoot 'em up. And I've got to be honest, I've actually never played this. I picked this game up as part of a bundle, and I just never got around to playing this one. I've never played any of the Fantasy Zone games, to be honest. I've never played the Mega Drive version, never played the arcade version, and yeah, just I don't know, like I just not got around to it yet. So that's that. Next one I have here is Rampage. I picked this up in the same bundle that came with Fantasy Zone, and this I did play as a kid, and I did enjoy playing it. It's a fun game. I mean, everyone knows Rampage, and yeah, it's just a nice one to have, because this, again, I do remember having fun with this one as a kid. Again, another title I did play as a kid, really remember enjoying this one, and that is The Lucky Dime Caper, starring Donald Duck. Classic game in my eyes. I played this one as well quite a few times as a kid. Still holds up. Excellent platformer. Definitely check it out. I'm sure most of you have got this one already if you're into your Master System. Okay, so let's move these over because I think they're about to fall off. Alright, it's the last three here, guys, and next one is Submarine Attack. So this is a horizontal. No, it's a horizontal. It's a horizontal shooter where you're like in a submarine. Very much like a precursor to In the Hunt, and yeah, it's a fun game. Never played this one before as a kid. Bought it as an adult, and it's definitely a fun one. Yeah, definitely recommend it. Really good shooter. Next one I have here is Zillion 2, the Tri-Formation, and I've not played this one. I've played the original Zillion before. I mean, I've played this since, but I hadn't played this one prior to owning it. And the original game was really good. I remember playing that, and this one's really good too. It's basically sort of like a 2D action side-scroller sort of game. I really would like to get my hands on the first one, but it's really tricky trying to find it in nice condition and complete. But this one is a lot of fun. You can ride a motorbike in it. Really cool, very anime inspired as well. I believe this was an anime, I think it was. But yeah, really cool one to have. And finally, I have RoboCop versus the Terminator. And again, this is one that I've never played before as a kid. Only until I picked it up. I was very curious to try this one out because I was a big fan of the Mega Drive version. Loved it. I had that as a kid. But this one, I have to admit, visually this game is amazing for an 8-bit game. I mean, if you squint your eyes, you could almost convince yourself it was a 16-bit game. That's how good it is. Unfortunately, I don't think the controls are that good. the hit detection in this game I think is a bit off for me, and the game also suffers from a lot of slowdown, and I guess that's because graphically this game is pretty amazing. It really is impressive, but I hate to say this, I don't want to end the video on a bit of a downer, but there were a few games that came out on the Master System that I felt a bit off more than it could chew. You know, graphically was stunning, but couldn't quite handle it. There was a lot of frame rate drops, definitely a lot of slowdown in some of the games. But you know, this was definitely sort of one of those later titles that was really trying to push what the Master System could do. But I think this definitely falls under that camp of it was definitely a bit more than it could chew with this one. But a really good effort. I won't completely knock it. It's a very good effort. You could. This is still playable. I just don't think the controls are as tight, and like I say, the hit detection is a bit off on this game as well, but it's still a very fun game. Yeah, and that's it, guys. That is basically my Master System collection. So it's not the biggest collection in the world, but it's definitely one I do enjoy. I like going back to these games and playing. Are there a few more I would like to add? Definitely so. But yeah, it's a really fun system, and I enjoy what I've got. So anyway, guys, that is it. Thank you very much for watching, guys, and of course stay tuned for my next video, and leave a comment, guys. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know what games you have, what games I need to get. Please drop down some recommendations. I would be very interested as well. So anyway, guys, stay tuned for the next video, and I will be back soon. Bye bye.